Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, patiently, deliberately, through daily choices. It's not a gift or a special trait. It's the result of showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. Most people don't fall short because they lack potential. They falter because they lose their way when the initial spark fades. The Stoics understood this. They didn't wait for motivation or comfort. They met hardship without complaint, using it as a forge to strengthen who they were. What separates those who grow from those who give up isn't talent. It's the quiet ability to say no to the easier road, to the tempting escape, to the part of ourselves that seeks comfort over growth. That voice, the one that urges you to sleep in, to skip the hard thing, to justify a shortcut, it exists in everyone. Discipline isn't about silencing it. It's about choosing not to obey it. To live with a Stoic mindset is to stop waiting, to stop expecting anyone else to save you or push you forward. It's a choice you make every day, to take responsibility for your direction, your habits, your future. The Stoic doesn't just wish to be strong. They train themselves for it. They embrace discomfort, not as punishment, but as preparation. They practice stillness, repetition, boredom, because they know storms are inevitable. And when they come, it's that quiet discipline that keeps them grounded. This message is a return to that way of living. Not dramatic, not glamorous, but steady, honest, relentless. The kind of life that calls something deeper out of you and gives you back something even greater. Let's begin. 1. Start where you resist. The beginning is often the hardest part, not because the task is too big, but because inertia is heavy. It clings to comfort, hesitation, and doubt. But once you move, even a little, momentum follows. And from there, discipline grows. It's easy to wait, to tell yourself that tomorrow will be better, that the right moment is just around the corner. But the Stoic doesn't place their life on pause, waiting for ideal conditions. They don't look for signs. They don't wait for motivation. They begin, quietly, imperfectly, and often uncomfortably, especially when it's difficult. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." He didn't speak of readiness. He spoke of presence, of responsibility. The morning is not a time for indulgence. It's an opportunity to step forward, to show up. Discipline often begins in the smallest moments, in the cold air, in the tired body, in the resistance that clouds your thoughts and urges you to delay. It's in those exact moments, when you don't feel like it, that your practice begins. Waking when you'd rather stay in bed, working when no one's around to applaud you, writing even when the words don't come easily, training when your body feels heavy, reflecting when your mind wants to wander. These aren't just habits. They are quiet tests, daily invitations to deepen your commitment to the life you're trying to build. The discomfort you feel isn't your enemy. It's a threshold, and every time you step through it, you grow. Avoidance may feel safe in the moment, but over time, it weakens your spirit. The longer you put something off, the more intimidating it becomes. The longer you look away, the more distorted it starts to feel. Each time you turn from difficulty, you teach yourself that discomfort should be feared. But discomfort is not destruction. It is transformation. It's the place where excuses dissolve and clarity begins to form. And in that space, uncomfortable, honest, real, you begin to become the person you're capable of being. The disciplined person understands that discomfort is not the enemy. It's the threshold, the doorway we must walk through if we want to grow. It isn't something to avoid or simply endure. It's something to meet with presence, with purpose. Because the real cost of hesitation isn't just time, it's the erosion of identity. Every time you delay what matters, you risk becoming someone who chooses avoidance over action. A pause may seem harmless, but over time, it creates cracks. Cracks in your momentum. Cracks in your trust in yourself. When you stay silent in moments that ask for resolve, you don't just lose time, you lose direction. But when you choose to do the thing you'd rather avoid, you begin to strengthen something deeper. Your will. You teach yourself to move forward, even when clarity is missing, even when ease is calling your name. That's how a steady, grounded self is built. Not all at once, but choice by choice. You become the kind of person who rises when others retreat, who moves when others wait, who endures, not because it's easy, but because it matters. You are not here for distraction. You're here to become, to grow into someone whose values are stronger than their moods, whose character holds firm even when the world does not. To become resilient, principled, and quietly powerful against the excuses that once defined your days. To begin where you least want to is more than a habit. It's a line you draw within yourself, a commitment to move forward, even when everything in you wants to step back. It's a choice to say, I will not be ruled by comfort. I will not live at the mercy of preference. I will act with intention, even when it's hard. This is not just discipline, it's freedom. Freedom from being reactive. Freedom from being pulled in every direction by moods, distractions, or fears. It is the quiet declaration. The world may be unpredictable, but I don't have to be. While others are led by what's happening around them, you learn to be guided by what's steady within you. You don't need a grand gesture. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need courage in the small, silent moments. A breath, a step, one honest action. That first act, though small, holds everything. Because you move not out of comfort, but out of principle. You move because you've decided that hesitation weakens you. That delay isn't neutral, it's self-abandonment. Each time you choose to begin, especially where it's hardest, you build a life shaped not by convenience, but by clarity, not by impulse, but by character. And in that, you find your strength, not in the spotlight, not in applause, but in the quiet refusal to give up on yourself, especially when no one's watching. That is where resilience is born. That is where your foundation becomes unshakable. 2. The real battle is within discipline isn't a fight against the world. It's a quiet, steady effort within. It's not about silencing external noise. It's about understanding the internal voice that responds to it. Temptation, distraction, comfort. These only gain power when something inside us is willing to listen. The world doesn't break us. We give it permission when we stop paying attention to what's happening inside. That's why the Stoic turns inward first. They begin with the self, not out of self-obsession, but out of self-responsibility. Epictetus reminded us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery is not dramatic. It's not a single moment of strength. It's the quiet discipline of consistency, of noticing, interrupting, and redirecting thoughts before they take root, of responding rather than reacting. The real challenge isn't the temptation itself. It's the part of us that wavers. The voice that says, just this once. The gentle inner negotiator that offers an excuse in comforting language. It doesn't shout. It persuades. It rationalizes avoidance. It wraps surrender in reason. That's why the Stoic learns to stay alert, to watch the mind like a sentry, calm, clear, and aware, not with judgment, but with honesty. They don't let their thoughts drift without direction. They don't assume every desire's worth following, because every thought is a beginning. And what is not questioned can grow into something that quietly reshapes us. So they observe. They ask, where did this thought come from? Does this desire serve what I value? Is this action aligned with who I want to become? They track their patterns, not out of fear, but out of care. They know that freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. It comes from knowing when not to. That's the quiet work. That's where the foundation is built. What fuels impulsivity? Where does procrastination hide? And how does fear disguise itself? The Stoic doesn't look away from these questions. They turn toward them, steadily, without defensiveness. They examine their inner world not to judge, but to understand. There's no room for comforting lies, no space for excuses to hide in the background. The internal life becomes a space for honest self-reflection, and the Stoic stands in the center of that space, not with harshness, but with clarity. Emotions are not ignored or suppressed. They are gently questioned. Where did you come from? What are you trying to protect? Is this rooted in truth or in fear? Excuses aren't automatically believed just because they feel good. A thought may be comforting, but that alone is not enough. It must also be reasonable. It must align with what is right, with the person you are becoming. Over time, the Stoic learns to recognize the difference between a passing feeling and a lasting principle. They become familiar with their own patterns, their own blind spots. They begin to notice the difference between what is tempting and what is true. The traps that once held them lose their grip. The shortcuts that once called to them grow quiet. They know their vulnerabilities, not to fear them, but to care for them with attention and discipline. When the inner voice says, "It doesn't matter today. I'll start tomorrow. I just need a break." They don't argue. They simply act. They don't enter into long internal negotiations. They don't wait to feel like it. They interrupt the pattern before it grows roots. They shift out of indecision not with force, but with quiet resolve. This isn't about self-punishment. It's about self-respect. It's the decision to stay true to your principles, even in private, even when no one else would know the difference. Because the Stoic understands, a single concession can become a habit, and habits shape a life. So instead, they build momentum through clarity. They learn to stand calmly inside the storm of emotion and still choose their path. They act not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. Not because the moment feels perfect, but because the moment calls for integrity. This is self-governance. The quiet declaration that values guide behavior, not moods. That identity is built not by what we feel, but by what we consistently choose. And that means creating standards that don't shift with emotion. Standards lived quietly, without needing to be seen, validated, or reminded. Standards anchored not in trend or impulse, but in a deeper sense of purpose. This is how the Stoic lives. With a code, with consistency, and with a deep respect for the person they've committed to becoming. Your principles must live so deeply within you that they remain steady, even when everything around you shifts. Even when life pulls, tempts, or distracts, you return to them, not out of habit, but out of alignment. It means choosing your values long before you're tested, so that when the moment of doubt or fatigue arrives, your direction is already set. Clarity becomes your shield. Your will has already been shaped to respond with quiet strength. It means continuing the work even when the world offers easier options. Glittering distractions that shine for a moment but leave nothing lasting behind. Even when those around you praise shortcuts and celebrate convenience, the Stoic remains on the slower road, the earned road. Where others may compromise for ease, the disciplined person sees the cost, integrity slowly fading, potential quietly slipping away. You don't envy the shortcut, because what you're building, day by day, act by act, is real, quiet, steady, solid, and no one can give it to you or take it away. When the mind says, later, your code says, now. When the path narrows, when doubt speaks softly, when the body grows tired, The Stoic stays the course. Not because it's easy, but because the decision was made long before the moment came. Commitment isn't measured by how you feel in any given moment. It's shown in what you choose to do despite how you feel. It's the quiet decision to act from vision, not mood. Moods shift like weather. But vision, that stays. And so even when motivation fades, even when no reward is in sight, you still move forward. Not because someone is watching, but because you are. Because effort itself has meaning. It becomes your anchor. To live this way is to become a steady force in a changing world. A person whose word carries weight, even if no one else hears it. A person who shows up, even when no one would notice if they didn't. Who walks through quiet, ordinary days with extraordinary care. Because you know, every unseen decision matters. Every repetition shapes who you are becoming. Each refusal to quit places another stone in the foundation of your character. That quiet refusal, that's strength. That's freedom. Not loud, not dramatic, but unshakable. The Stoic is not untouched by fear. They simply choose not to serve it. They stay loyal to courage, and in doing so, they reclaim ownership of their life. Not all at once, but gradually, word by word, deed by deed, habit by habit. They choose order over impulse, responsibility over ease, principle over pleasure. And slowly, a new kind of mind is formed, a mind that doesn't seek escape through comfort, a mind that cannot be bribed or bent by fear, a mind that has been tested and found true, a sovereign mind, and from that mind comes a life, quiet, disciplined, dignified, and fully your own. The kind of life that cannot be broken is one built on a quiet refusal, a refusal to be ruled by anything less than virtue, a life of self-respect rooted in self-command, not loud, not showy, but worthy, simply because it is lived with intention. 3. Routine is the fortress. A disciplined life isn't built on dramatic moments. It's built on rhythm, structure, steady choices made again and again. It doesn't depend on bursts of motivation or adrenaline. It's anchored in habit, in clarity, in foresight. The Stoic does not chase novelty for its own sake. They seek stability, not because they fear change, but because they understand that stability is not stagnation. It is the foundation where mastery grows. Routine is not confinement. It's protection. A quiet structure that keeps the mind from scattering and the soul from drifting. Each repeated action, a stone in that structure. Waking early, reflecting daily, moving the body, studying the wisdom of others, writing thoughts down, returning to stillness, revisiting core values, simplifying decisions. These are not signs of rigidity. They're signs of devotion. They're reminders to the self. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. These daily rituals aren't for performance. They're offerings, made in silence, to the person you're shaping yourself into. Each repetition quietly strengthens your foundation. Each act carves your identity a little deeper into the day. This is how the Stoic remains grounded, not in willpower alone, but in design. They know willpower is fragile. It can waver, it can wear thin. So they don't rely on it. They build systems. They prepare, they simplify. They remove friction before it becomes a problem. They clear space, reduce clutter, mental and physical, and create environments where the right action isn't a struggle. It's the default. They arrange their days so that good choices feel natural, not forced. And when doubt or fatigue arises, they have something stronger than mood to lean on. They have rhythm. To the outside, this might look simple, but to the Stoic, it's sacred. This is their sanctuary, their quiet workshop of discipline. Behind every small act lies a quiet vow to stay the course, to grow a little each day, to live from the inside out. Seneca once said, Nothing, to my way of thinking, is better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. That peace doesn't come from escape. It comes from inner order, from a life not governed by appetite, but guided by principle. To sit still, to be undisturbed, to enjoy the quiet. This is not passivity, it's presence, it's a reflection of balance within. That silence nourishes, that solitude sharpens, not as a withdrawal from life, but as a way to stay whole while living it. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet strength of designing your life around what matters, of shaping your days so they reflect your values, not just in thought, but in rhythm, in space, in time. Discipline doesn't begin with feeling inspired. Inspiration may ignite something, but it fades. What lasts is structure, preparation, deliberate design. If you want to stay disciplined, don't depend on motivation. Build systems, build habits, create a foundation that can carry you even on the days when your energy can't. Let your discipline be intentional, crafted, not reactive. Let it be the quiet architecture of your day. Don't wait for the day to shape you. Shape it. Plan with care. Begin with clarity. Let each action serve something deeper. Wake at the same time, not for perfection, but to anchor yourself. Let your mornings be your return to purpose, your own quiet beginning, no matter what the world is doing. Work with rhythm, not only when you're motivated, but especially when you're not. Let that effort become its own quiet devotion. Reflect in the evening. Let your days end in awareness, not distraction. Let your nights become a place where the mind slows down and the self reconnects. Move your body, not for image, but for alignment. Let physical discipline mirror the strength you're building within. Eat with presence, not for indulgence, but for nourishment, for energy that supports clarity. Speak with intention, as if every word matters because it does. Treat language as a reflection of your inner stillness. Walk with purpose. Let even your smallest movements echo your principles. Let your life become a rhythm, not a reaction. Let it move with the steadiness of something well built. Let it flow like a heartbeat trained by clarity, kept steady by intention, and grounded in philosophy. Let your life move with quiet cadence, as if each moment were intentional, worthy of your full presence. Let your habits link together like the steps of a quiet ritual, each one reinforcing the next, not through force, but through meaning. Let your day unfold with a quiet harmony. Waking early, the gentle overture. Purposeful action, the steady rhythm. Evening stillness, the final note. Let your calendar reflect more than tasks. Let it hold your intentions. Let it quietly point toward who you are choosing to become. Fill your days with acts that remind you of your deeper commitments. Let your decisions echo, softly, consistently, until the boundary between what you do and who you are begins to disappear. Until discipline feels less like effort and more like alignment. Until right action becomes your nature. Let your structure speak gently but firmly, louder than your moods. Let it say, "This is who I am. This is what I return to, no matter what the day brings, not driven by pressure, but grounded in design. A decision, repeated until it becomes part of you. In that rhythm, you'll find strength, not the fleeting kind that needs praise, but the lasting kind that endures failure, distraction, and silence. In that order, you'll find peace, not emptiness, but fullness. A quiet confidence, built over time, not fragile, but forged. And in that peace, you'll discover something deeper, a place within you that no noise can reach, a stillness untouched by chaos, a steadiness that remains even when the world pulls at your edges. When demands rise, when temptation knocks, when weakness whispers, your structure stays. It does not react, it does not retreat, it does not negotiate. It simply stands, not as a cage, but as a quiet sanctuary. A home built by values for the self you've chosen to become. A self built in quiet layers. A self shaped by repetition, not noise. A self protected, not by defensiveness, but by discernment. Not easily shaken, not because it resists the storm, but because it was rooted long before the winds arrived. And it remains, not out of rigidity, but because it knows where it stands. It is anchored in something deeper, a sense of purpose, a sense of clarity, a daily return to the person you are steadily becoming. The Stoic chooses voluntary hardship. Comfort, left unchecked, softens more than the body. It dulls the will. And the Stoic knows this, not just in theory, but in practice. That's why they seek out challenge. Not for applause, not to prove anything, but to remain honest with themselves, to stay ready, to stay sharp. They understand that ease can quietly seduce you into forgetting your strength, that too much familiarity can lead you to underestimate what you're still capable of. Musonius Rufus once said, "If you desire to be good, begin by believing that you are wicked." Not as self-punishment, but as a call to remain awake, to never assume the work is finished. The Stoic is wary of the voice that says, "You've earned the right to relax." Not because rest is wrong, but because that voice, when left unexamined, can slowly erode discipline. It can turn effort into an option and strength into a memory. So they practice discomfort, not as a punishment, but as preparation. A quiet rehearsal for difficulty, so they are not surprised when it arrives. Voluntary hardship doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be small, steady acts of resistance. Cold water in the morning, skipping indulgences, sitting in silence, pushing the body, walking with intention, choosing to speak up, or choosing to hold your tongue. It might look like doing what's inconvenient, what's unnoticed, what's uncomfortable, but none of it is for show, and none of it is about denial. It is about remembering what matters, what strengthens, what prepares you to live. Not just when life is easy, but especially when it's not. They are training, small reminders that the body serves the mind, and the mind, like steel, needs tempering. These acts sharpen your focus. They gently rouse you from the numbness of ease. They help condition your nervous system to stay steady, even when pressure rises. They build your tolerance for discomfort. They help inoculate you against the panic that change can bring. They teach you this: you can do without. You can endure. You can resist. You can act without applause, suffer without complaint, and rise without waiting to be saved. In this resistance, you find your strength again. Resilience grows not only in your body, but deep within your identity. You tell yourself, "I am not here for comfort. I am here for growth. I am here to be shaped, not softened." You prove this again and again, that you are not dependent on pleasure, that your peace is steady, not fragile, that your discipline remains even when fatigue sets in, that you are more than impulses, that your character runs deeper than momentary cravings, that your strength is not for show, it is foundational. You show yourself that clarity can remain even in chaos, that purpose can shine through exhaustion, that you can walk through fire and stay centered, that you can stand in discomfort and still know who you are. Your identity isn't written in comfort, it is revealed in crisis. And when you choose hardship on your own terms, life's unchosen trials begin to feel less like threats and more like familiar territory. They become echoes of the strength you've already practiced. Pain becomes a conversation you've had before. Discomfort becomes a quiet companion. Challenge becomes a landscape you've already explored. Every moment of chosen struggle is a rehearsal for the unexpected adversity. You don't fear the unknown. You've prepared for it. You don't panic when the ground shifts. You've built your house on stone. The modern world often seduces us into softness, into distraction, dopamine loops, Digital sedation, constant entertainment, and passive consumption. It offers comfort, but often at the cost of character. Convenience, but at the expense of will. Gratification without grounding. It encourages chasing relief instead of seeking resolution. It tempts with numbness rather than growth. But the Stoics sees this clearly. They recognize the subtle trap of luxury, how ease can dull the edge, how softness can erode grit. They understand that comfort without purpose is like a cage with silk walls, beautiful but confining. Pleasure, when left unchecked, is not a gift, it's a leash. They know that what weakens often feels good at first, and what strengthens rarely does. So they look discomfort directly in the eye and say, "You will not break me, you will make me." They welcome hardship, not because they seek pain, but because they know who they become through endurance. That choice becomes a power no circumstance can take away, because it is created from within. Self-created strength is the most lasting kind. It does not depend on perfect conditions. It is not swayed by praise or circumstance. It grows stronger in difficulty. It thrives in friction. It is refined by resistance. It builds courage where once there was avoidance. That is why the Stoic walks toward discomfort when others step away, because in that walk, they meet a strength few ever find. They do not come through hardship empty. They come through forged. Not just tougher, but truer. Not just harder, but wiser. More aligned. More grounded. More alive. Because in moving through what is difficult, they move closer to who they were meant to be. 5. Do the work without applause. There is no grand finale for discipline. No parade, no applause waiting at the end. No standing ovation in the quiet moments where real progress unfolds. The Stoic does not act for praise. They act because the action is right, because it aligns with their principles, because doing what is just is its own reward. Discipline is not a performance. It is a private agreement with your better self. Don't yearn for what you lack. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Fix your attention on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you would long for these if they weren't already yours." Discipline is like that, a quiet, powerful possession, often unseen, but always felt. It is the current beneath your character that pulls you forward when others drift. It's not about glamour or ease. It is the architecture of inner order. You rise early and no one thanks you. You train each day and no one notices. You hold your standards quietly, even when no one is watching. You show up. You work. You grow, silently, without recognition or applause. You keep promises to yourself without announcing them. You push forward, not for reward, but because the work itself is yours to do. That is the true test. Can you live well when no one is watching? Can you stay loyal to your path when it offers nothing but more walking? Can you hold to your values in a world that often applauds abandoning them? This is where discipline is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in victory, but in quiet resolve. The Stoic doesn't perform. They live by principle. They don't count likes, awards, or praise. They don't change for recognition. Their compass is within. Their reward is inner peace, integrity, and self-respect. These things don't trend. They don't shout. But they anchor a life. They do not fade in solitude. They do not weaken when overlooked. They carry you when motivation fades. They remind you that what is right is seldom easy, and what is real is rarely loud. These are not grand gestures, but they endure, because they are earned, not given, because they are victories won within, untouched by public opinion, unmarked by time's passing. In your daily life, let go of the need for validation. Stop waiting for someone to notice. Stop shaping your actions based on who might see them. Instead, shape them by what is right. Let your work be your validation. Let your perseverance speak louder than any praise. Let your consistency be your strength. A quiet signal to yourself that you are serious, that you have chosen a higher standard. Let your process be your pride. Let the act of doing itself be the reward. Let your quiet resolve define you, the part of you that shows up even when no one else does. You are not here to be admired. You are here to be aligned with virtue, with your highest standards, with the version of yourself that stands firm when tested. Keep your head down. Do the work, not for an audience, but because it is who you are, because you have made a choice. Let the applause be silence, and let that silence be sacred. Let it be a refuge, the sound of a mind with nothing to prove and everything to offer. A mind not hungry for attention, but fulfilled by action. In that silence, you will find yourself. For only when the noise fades away does truth have space to speak. In the stillness, your intentions are revealed. And when they speak, you will hear something stronger than praise. The voice of the person you chose to become. Unshaken, unwavering, unstoppable. That voice does not seek approval. It seeks alignment. It needs no stage, because it lives in integrity. It does not crave to be seen, but is content in being real, being grounded, being whole. And once you have that, you will realize you never needed applause. You only needed to know you did not fold. You only needed to know that in the quiet moments, in the unseen hours, in the most invisible sacrifices, you stayed true. You held your line. You honored your principles. That is the kind of discipline no spotlight can create, and no spotlight can take away. It is the kind of discipline that endures long after the noise fades. And it is in that silence, not in the clamor, that the Stoic finds their power. 6. Pain is a signal, not a stop sign. Pain is not the enemy. It is a messenger. It speaks in a language many refuse to learn. But the Stoic listens, because pain has something to teach, something to reveal. It is not there to torment, but to inform. It is not always punishment. Sometimes it is a push, a guide, a mirror, reflecting where you are weak, highlighting what you avoid. Pain is honest when the world is not. It strips away illusions, revealing what still needs facing. To the undisciplined, pain feels like the end, a reason to stop, a justification to turn back. They see it as a malfunction, not a message. But to the Stoic, pain is a signal. It says, pay attention, adjust, grow. This is the place where learning happens. Pain is not an invitation to retreat. It is a call to rise. Pain is life's exam after you've claimed commitment. It asks, were you only here when it was easy, or are you here to stay? Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is endurable, endure it. If not, stop complaining. The Stoic separates pain from panic, discomfort from distress, challenge from chaos. They don't let sensation dictate direction. They observe it, study it, and use it. They ask, what is this showing me? They look beyond the surface reaction to the message beneath. They use the energy of pain not to retreat, but to strengthen resolve. Pain in the body means adapt, train smarter, strengthen weak points. Pain in the mind means reflect. What thought is causing suffering? What truth am I resisting? Pain in the heart means clarify. What is the source of this ache? Is it expectation, loss, ego? The disciplined individual reads pain like a letter addressed to their character. They neither ignore it nor dramatize it. They decode it. They use it as feedback, not fate. You cannot become who you are capable of being if you flinch at every ache. Growth is not polite. It demands discomfort. It does not ask permission. It interrupts. It presses. It confronts. Pain is the threshold beyond which strength is found. Not the strength of muscle, but but the strength of character. Pain humbles the ego. It strips away the illusion of invincibility and the false entitlement to ease. It sharpens your focus, drawing your attention fully into the present moment. It burns away what is superficial, false goals, fragile identities, fleeting habits. It reveals what is essential, what you truly believe, what you are willing to stand for. The strongest people you know didn't avoid pain. They walked through it and emerged clearer, more resolved, more awake, not despite the pain, but because of it. And when pain passes, as it always does, it leaves something behind. Resilience, proof that you kept going when it would have been easier to stop. You didn't run, you didn't fold. You endured, adapted, and showed up when it hurt, when it felt pointless, when the reward was unseen. That is where identity is forged, not in moments of ease, but in trials that reveal your capacity to rise above fear, to hold fast to your values, to remain faithful to your higher self. Pain reveals your edge, then asks, "Who are you?" When the answer is not spoken, it is lived. Let pain guide your process, not derail it. Let it sharpen your resolve, not shake your foundation. Let it be the price of clarity, not the cause of confusion. Let it remind you that what is earned is kept. Use it to question your attachments, your assumptions, your craving for comfort. Use it to build a new relationship with difficulty, not as an enemy, but as a mirror. Let it deepen your understanding of strength, not as absence of struggle, but as mastery within it, not as denial of hardship, but as calm composure through it. The Stoic meets pain not with fear, but with curiosity, with attention, with gratitude for the chance to sharpen the soul. Because pain, like discipline, is a doorway to power. And only those who walk through it fully, intentionally, without flinching, will come to understand what true power feels like on the other side. It is not loud, it is not easy, but it is yours, earned by no one else. You must walk through to claim it. 7. Win the small moments. Discipline is not always found in grand gestures. It lives in the small moments. Those quiet choices that may seem insignificant, yet quietly shape who you become. The decision to rise when the bed tempts you to stay. The pause before reacting in haste. The choice to begin even when readiness feels absent. The resolve to continue when no one demands it. These moments don't make headlines, but they build character. They are the steady bricks of your identity, laid one by one in silence. The Stoic knows greatness is not forged in bursts, but in layers. Quiet, consistent, moment by moment. Each day is full of invisible crossroads, forks where one path strengthens and the other weakens. They train themselves to see these moments, to honor them, to act, not for applause, but because these small decisions echo into who they become tomorrow. The one who neglects these small moments will never withstand the trials of the greater ones. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's the feeling that comes with honoring small disciplines when no one else notices. Saying no to impulse, delaying gratification, choosing principle over pleasure, turning away from comfort, because you know it costs you strength in the long run. The Stoic accepts the awkwardness, the invisibility, the seeming futility, because those who win the small moments win the big ones too. The small moments are practice, and practice shapes permanence. A quiet pause now becomes a reservoir of strength later. The small moment where the phone is set aside to open a book, where ease is declined and standards are upheld, where complaint is silenced and gratitude spoken, where distraction fades and attention rises, where excuses stop mid-thought and action begins without fanfare. These are not glamorous victories, but they are sacred. They are how you become the person worthy of trust trusted by others, and most importantly, by yourself. They are the foundation beneath every visible success. No external achievement carries weight if your private life is fractured, reactive, or weak. You build the person you want to be through these quiet, daily choices. Watch for the crossroads in your day. Chapter 8. Say no with conviction. Discipline thrives on boundaries. The ability to say no is not merely a refusal. It is a declaration, a clear statement of your priorities, a line drawn to protect your energy, your purpose, and your values from being diluted by distractions or commitments that don't align. It is a fence guarding the garden of your effort, keeping the weeds of misalignment from overtaking your growth. Without boundaries, even the noblest goals are vulnerable to erosion. The Stoic knows that every weak yes is a no to something strong. Every agreement that does not serve you is a betrayal of what could. Every compromise made for comfort creates a fracture in the foundation. They guard their time not out of selfishness, but because they are stewards of a precious resource. Time spent is life spent. Energy given is attention invested. So they choose wisely. Every moment spent unconsciously is a withdrawal from the future they might have built. Every hour wasted on distraction steals from the person they strive to become. To the undisciplined, saying yes is easy. It offers instant acceptance, momentary pleasure. But to the disciplined, every yes is weighed carefully. They know a single deviation can cascade into disarray. They understand that guarding their time means guarding their life. Their calendar reflects their character. Their choices mirror their clarity. They see no not as rejection, but as redirection. A way to stay loyal to your mission, even when the world pulls you toward distraction. Saying no takes courage, especially when everyone expects you to say yes. When culture applauds overextension, when your ego craves approval, when the easiest path is the one cheered by the crowd, when every invitation feels like a demand, and every interruption masquerades as opportunity. But the disciplined life isn't lived for applause. It is lived for alignment, and alignment calls for sacrifice. It asks you to reject what seems good for the sake of what is truly great. It means risking misunderstanding to protect your self-respect. It means choosing purpose over popularity, even when it leads to solitude. Practice saying no, not just to others, but to yourself, to impulses, to shortcuts, to anything that pulls you from your path. Say no without guilt. Say it clearly. Say it with unwavering conviction. Say no not from fear, but from fierce loyalty to your highest vision. Say it because your future depends on it. Because every yes you give to discipline must drown out every distraction. Every no you say strengthens your yes. Every no reinforces your direction. Every no closes a gate to protect the temple you build within. Each no you offer the world is a yes to the life you are shaping with your own hands. Your discipline is only as strong as your ability to protect it. Say no to preserve your standards. Say no to protect your peace. Say no to defend your future. Say no to the ease that dulls your edge. Say no because your higher self depends on it. And when you do, something remarkable happens. What once felt like loss now feels like liberation. What once felt like denial now feels like devotion. The noise fades, and what remains is sacred clarity. The clarity born from saying no with conviction. Once you discover that power, you stop fearing what you give up and start honoring what you gain. Chapter 9. Discipline is love in action. At its heart, discipline is not punishment, it is love. Love expressed through structure, protection, and preparation for who you are becoming. It is the quiet care you show your future self. It is the scaffolding you build to ensure your potential doesn't collapse under the weight of distraction. It is not cruelty, but compassion. It says, "You are worth this effort." The Stoic does not drive discipline from self-hatred, but from honoring their potential. They are not motivated by shame, but by vision. They don't strive to earn their worth, they protect it. Discipline is the daily act of saying, "I believe in something greater, greater than impulse, greater than comfort, greater than the easy path." It is a declaration, quiet but unwavering, of commitment to something greater, something deeper and more lasting than fleeting feelings or shifting circumstances. It is a love letter written not in words, but in deliberate choices, to rise early, to train the body and mind, to resist temptation, to pause and reflect, to act with purpose. These are more than habits. They are affirmations, silent promises to yourself, proof of dedication to a higher purpose. Each act of discipline quietly says, "I matter. My growth matters. My future matters." Every repeated choice is a vote cast for the person you are becoming. Every moment you resist is a gift offered to the self you believe you can be. These are no empty routines. They are sacred rituals. They are the Stoics' way of carving order from chaos, of anchoring meaning in a world that pulls relentlessly in many directions. These small decisions compound, like steady interest, not just building skill, but forging character. Waking early trains more than your body, it trains your will. Choosing water over wine, effort over ease, reflection over reaction, they shape you far beyond the moment. The Stoic understands these are rituals, not burdens, blessings in disguise. They root you in a life that is responsive, not reactive, guided by intention, not impulse. True love is not permissive. It is principled. It does not enable weakness. It cultivates strength. It does not flatter. It fortifies. It does not soften through indulgence, but strengthens through restraint. The Stoic disciplines themselves because they refuse to let their future self inherit the cost of present laziness. They know that today's comfort often becomes tomorrow's regret. They choose the harder right over the easier wrong again and again, not for show, not for applause, but because it is necessary. Because that is love made real, love in motion, and love in motion always calls for effort. True love protects. It stands watch at the gate of what matters most, refusing to let fleeting desire undo what has been built with care. Discipline is how you keep your promises to yourself. It is the way you live with integrity. It is how you earn your own respect. It teaches you that your words carry weight, your goals are sacred, and your life deserves your wholehearted effort. It is a visible testament to your values, crafted through steady, consistent action. It is the armor you build with repetition, the path you follow not because it's easy, but because it is true to who you are meant to be. And in this lies the real reward: to live a life you admire, to move through your days knowing you did not fold, you did not drift, you did not betray your highest self, you did not mistake ease for fulfillment. You met each day head-on, standing firm and ready. You endured when quitting seemed simpler. You loved deeply, not through grand gestures, but through discipline, through effort, through the quiet daily choice to be your fullest self, regardless of who notices. And that is the truest act of power, not in the eyes of others, but in the proof you give yourself. That is the lasting gift of discipline. Not applause, but alignment. Not noise, but purpose. Not perfection, but perseverance.